Yeah, I am back. I do think I'm still going to be doing that KOTOR 2 review, but I wanted to get this out of the way really quick because I wanted to get a couple questions done. I have a rather large list as usual, but probably most importantly, one of the main reasons I'm doing this is I want to get an announcement out there. And I know more people watch my Q&A reviews than they do my specific game reviews. A lot of people have been asking me about the whole podcast thing and whether or not I'm going to have audio versions of these. I am not 100% sure I did it right, so right now there is only one MP3 up there, but if anybody would like to search for Archie and Gaia, it should be in the iTunes store as of this moment. From what I am told, it's there and ready and it's been published and all that. I don't know if it works properly. I don't even know how to go about testing that, but any of you who actually do know how this works, it was one of my Q&As from the 5 series, 5.1 actually. And so if anybody could go there and make sure it's good, make sure the quality's good, feel free to give me any feedback. I'm still new at this. I still have the video files, ready to rip the audio and do that, but I want to make sure everything was set up first and everything was actually working first, and that I had any idea what I was doing first before I did that. So if anybody could do that, that'd be great. I'd appreciate it. Um, you know, just get back to me. Feel free to leave me a comment or a message, whatever. Now, we're going to go through a few questions pretty quickly here because I do want to get to that KOTOR 2 review. I'm just going to select one page of like 6 questions I've got here. First question: would you ever consider releasing the audio files of your videos? Wait a minute. No, actually, this leads me to another thing. Actually, this is another announcement I need to make. I actually regret doing this, but it's gotten to the point where these Q&As are simply becoming so large and so common and take up so much more time than my video game reviews, ironically, for prep time and the like, and for publishing time and for editing time and all that, that I basically have to make a new rule, and I hate to do this again. But what's going to happen here is from now on, henceforth, I am not going to be answering duplicate questions. I have received a lot of duplicate questions. I have tried to answer them in the past, even though I've been asked them before. It's gotten to the point where I have to no longer do that. So I will no, unless I forget, which is possible, of course, because I'm a squishy human. I am not going to be answering duplicate questions anymore. I do apologize. So if you think one of your questions has not been answered, that is probably why, because it has been answered in a previous video. Now, if you're like, what the heck, and want to message me personally, then okay, go ahead and do that, and I can give you a quick and dirty answer. If you want an in-depth answer, I'm afraid you're going to have to look through previous videos. I am sorry, I don't like doing this. I really don't. But I just do not have the time to keep up with these and keep answering the same questions over and over like this. I apologize. So, let's get to the next question. Have you ever played Star Control 1 and 2? And if so, what was your favorite race in that universe? Of course I've played Star Control. Oh my god, those games were incredible. Those games, I can't believe those games didn't receive the kind of accolades they deserved. Those games were marvelous. They practically introduced me to the 4X genre. And yes, I know technically they weren't 4X themselves. They were genreless. I don't even know what to call those. There was a degree of 4X involved there. But anyways, they were amazing games. I loved them. They were entertaining. They were funny. They were well thought out. They were involved. They were complicated. They were just difficult enough without being too easy. Love those games. As far as my favorite race, I actually had to write this down and look it up because I couldn't remember what they were called. The Chenjutsu? Really not sure how to pronounce that. The Chenjutsu, the silicon race, and I really loved that idea, the whole idea of a silicon-based species, especially one that uses direct energy output in order to manipulate objects. That just always fascinated me, and I really liked that. And of course, I loved interacting with them. It was always amusing for me. Next question: do your employers not get annoyed with you for making videos on the job? Uh, I'm pretty sure none of my employers know I make these videos on the job, so I suppose that's your answer right there. But even if they did know, they really have very little to complain about, although it would probably make my life much worse if they did. So I'm going to keep hoping that they don't know and move on from this. Now, I'm going to answer this once, because I have been asked this about 8 times, and I technically already covered it in brief over in my E3 review, but in brief, again, what is the question? The questions were all about Star Wars 1313. What do I think about Star Wars 13? Will I think it work? Do I think a Star Wars game without the Force will work? All sorts of. It was phrased like 5, 6, 8 different ways, but the question was all the same. Star Wars 1313. As I said over in the E3 review, I am very excited about this game. I think it is a magnificent idea. I think as long as they don't go too far with the attempt at realism and the attempt at darker and edgier, as long as they keep it within reason here, as long as they hit the moderation line, I think we're good. And I think it's going to be an amazing game, and I'm going to love it. And to answer one of those individual questions specifically, do I think a Star Wars game can work without the Force? Yes, of course I do. While the Force is certainly integral to Star Wars, let's be honest with ourselves, percentage-wise, while Star Wars is a lot other than the Force, and there are plenty of people who have had great deal of influence and effect on the galaxy, let alone the stories that we've interplayed with, that did not use the Force and were not Force sensitive and had nothing to do with the Force, you know. And so, while the Force certainly is something that is impacting on Star Wars, I do not think it is required, and I think it's about time we got a game where the Force, at least from what we know so far, does not exist. And who knows if that'll continue. But anyways, next question: have you tried out Starforge? No, I have not. Although I have been keeping an eye on the project. It does look very fascinating. It does look interesting. It looks like a very strange sort of. It actually basically looks like Minecraft sci-fi with better graphics and less creativity, if you'll forgive me. And what I mean by that is in Minecraft, you can build just about anything. In Starforge, it's much more about the actual survival mode, which is fine. I'm just saying it's a different focus. It's over here. It's more about the game than it is about the creative tool, which again is fine. It's a different idea, and that's actually the primary reason I haven't gotten into it yet, is because I don't have time to actually dedicate to a game like that I have to actually focus on and project for long term. And indeed, that's also partially why I haven't been played Minecraft in like 6 months, because I just don't have time. But anyways, let's move on. What do I think about Watch Dogs? Again, I covered this in E3, and I was asked this like 8 times, but I just want to say, Watch Dogs blew me away. And aside from the obvious reasons why, because it looks amazing and it looks fantastic and it looks really enjoyable and it looks very well done and it looks, I could keep going. The simple fact of the matter is that it was a surprise. I'd never heard of this game. I'd never heard that they were making a game like this. I knew nothing. And all of a sudden, by the way, we have this awesome cyberpunky, amazingness game of in the future, and it's incredible. Oh, what? Really? And is this a joke? Are you pulling my leg? No, no, it's a real game. What? Really blew me away. So definitely excited about that. Let's see. Where was I going down to? Right here. Have you played the Broken Sword games, and what are your opinions of them and that type of gameplay? Now, for those of you who aren't aware, Broken Swords is from the golden age of adventure games. Pretty much most people, myself included, tend to consider them at least in the top 10 bracket of adventure games. And I did play the original two, I guess, the ones that were in the 90s. Broken Sword and Broken Sword 2. I know they kept going after that. I never actually kept going with the series, unfortunately, even though I'm told it kept going well, and that's something I'd like to go back and do one of these days. But the point is that, yes, I did play them. Yes, I thought they were awesome. I think that type of adventuring is something we could see again nowadays. It was something I'd like to see again. Adventure games don't necessarily have to follow adventure game logic and don't necessarily have to be illogical. Basically, they can actually flow and make it feel like it's a story and a real atmosphere that's developing. And several adventure games in the past have done this, and that's something I'd like to see more of in the present. But anyways, next question. Would you consider voice acting to be just as big and selective by the producers and directors of games as movie makers? Yes. Or rather, I guess I should say yes, I think it should be that way. And I do know that some companies do have that. Blizzard is a very big example of a company that is fairly selective in their voice actors, and so is BioWare, and so is Bethesda. In general, these are in generalizations. Obviously, there's exceptions, but to give you an example of a company that is very schizophrenic about this, Square Enix has some voice actors that are incredible, over here, and then they have some voice actors that are just really bad. And what's really weird is sometimes the same voice actor will from game to game, playing the same role, do really well in one game and then do really bad in the other, and it just makes no sense. But I do personally think that's a very important thing. It is extremely important to immersion, to enjoyment, to the development of the characters in the story to have good voice acting. I think that needs to be important, something that really needs to be worked on. If I was making a game, for example, I would spend a lot of time fleecing, or not fleecing, that's not the word, working my way through the voice actors and really making sure I have good ones. So let's move on. Have I been reading Kubismo's Marauder Shields comics? I did read a few of those comics. I actually ended up putting it down because I didn't want to be reminded about Mass Effect 3 anymore, to be honest with you. But I give the man or woman props for coming up with an inventive and amusing way to keep going with something that was generally terrible. And so, I definitely encourage them to keep going. And anybody who haven't seen it, that's Kubismo. I wrote it down, Koobismo, the Marauder Shields comic. I do recommend you go look into it. It's pretty amusing. Next question. Do you think the lightsaber combat in Jedi Academy is the best one so far? And if so, why haven't they put that mechanic in any new Star Wars games that involve lightsaber combat? That's actually a tough one because I've never. Most of the times when I've enjoyed lightsaber combat, it hasn't actually been lightsaber combat per se. It's been more like KOTOR, like I was just talking about, where it looks cool and it looks appropriate, but all you're ultimately doing is selecting attack or using a special ability on an enemy. Having proper, if I may say so, Devil May Cry or God of War style lightsaber combat would be amazing and would be incredible. And I don't think there's ever been a game that's actually reached that level of awesome, to be completely frank with you. And so it's really a shame because there's so much potential there. But if put to the point, I would probably go ahead and say that, yeah, Jedi Academy is probably some of the best lightsaber combat I've seen. And that's kind of sad given how old that game is. Um, Gosh darn it. So many things to respond to tonight. I apologize. Okay. Four, I think? More questions? No, three more questions. Three more questions, real quick. What do you think of the final mixed versions of the Kingdom Hearts games, specifically 1, 2, and Birth by Sleep, not being released in the US? This is a huge point of grief with me, and this is not a joke. This bothers me. For some reason, and I do not understand why. For some reason, someone has decided that the other markets, other than either Europe or Asia, or often just Japan, do not get the final mix versions of this game. And now let's get this out here. One of the reasons this is so irksome is these final mix versions are not just extra stuff to do, extra mini games or extra combat, like the arena thing. No, no, no. For the most part, this is lore relevant stuff. We first saw Zemnis and had a conversation with him and an awesome cutscene with him in Kingdom Hearts 1. We had cutscenes upon cutscenes upon cutscenes in Kingdom Hearts 2. 13 additional boss battles, all of which were awesome, which you could all fight twice, by the way. And then the lingering sentiment, which was incredibly tied in with the overall story. Now, granted, we didn't know what was going on at the time, but that's kind of the point. We missed out on so much because I don't know why. It bugs me immensely that they do that. If they released Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and Birth by Sleep and I guess that's it actually, Final Mix out here now in the US in English, I could actually pick up the game and play it, the actual real all of it version, I probably still would go out and buy that because it's still worth it to me, especially given how much I love that series. But God, it irks me that they do that, and I don't know exactly what they're doing with Dream Drop Distance. I heard a rumor that they're going to try not to do the extra content thing, but they said that with Birth by Sleep as well. And then after they gave us the here's all the content American version, then they came out with another version in Japan that had more content. Now, granted, that wasn't lore content, so I'll give you that. At least I don't think it was, but God, people, stop doing that. Please, I'm begging you. Give us your games. Let me give you my money. Next question. Just a guesstimate, when, if ever, do you think Kingdom Hearts 3 will be released, and do you think it will be on the PS3, and what would you like to see in it? Oh, that's kind of a toughie. When? Next year at the earliest, probably more likely in a year and a half, I'd say at this point. Next holiday season, in other words. Especially since FF13 Versus still hasn't come out. So we know they're still working on that, so it's being pushed back continuously as Versus itself is being pushed back. Yes, it'll almost assuredly be on the PS3. It might be on the Wii U, given the product specs. I'm sorry, the product specs. The specs of that machine that we've seen now, and it will. I don't know what else it will be on, to be completely honest with you, but it would almost definitely be on the PS3, which is great because I own a PS3 now. And last point, what would I like to see in it? Now that's actually a tough one because there's plenty of things I'd love to see in it, but what I would like to see is more of the combat style of Birth by Sleep, which in my opinion has the best combat system of the game so far. Continuation of the trend to get better and better with the voice acting and with the dialogue. Like in Kingdom Hearts 1, the dialogue was fine, but it was clearly improved in Kingdom Hearts 2, and it was clearly improved again in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. And as the series goes on, it just seems to be better written, and the characters and the voice actors and the directors seem to be getting the feel better and really getting the point across better. So I'd like to see more of that, and I would like to see Xehanort be awesome. And I would love to see a happy ending for Xion, for Namine, for Roxas, for Aqua, for Ven. I had to think about that one, Ventus, and of course for Terra. I would love to see a happy ending for those 6 characters because, wow, they really got the shaft, didn't they? Um, and of course, I'd love to see awesome combat, just in general. Just being awesome is something Kingdom Hearts has always pulled off really well, and I'd love to see more of that. And of course, I'd love to see the Return of the Nobodies. I guess I should add that. I would love to see the Return of the Nobodies. Last question for this one. What do you mean when you say the War DLC for Skyrim coming last? I'm referring to the war that they have hinted at a lot and is almost assuredly going to be in a DLC at some point, which is the war with the Dominion, the Aldmeri Dominion, or rather the Thalmor. And that is something that has been hinted all over the place. I was hinted at in the books as well. And so I'm very looking forward to that. It's probably going to be very epic in scope and yada yada. Now, I'm going to go ahead and chop this off, get the timestamps going, and do all that thing, and probably do that while I'm doing my next review because I'm running out of time for the night. So I'll see you in like 30 seconds from my perspective.